Okay, I think we're recording. So hey everyone, it's Trace Face and Lisa here today. And we're really excited to be here with you today. Lisa is someone I've worked with for a long time. And Lisa and I had a session last week and our session was so interesting that I'm like, hey, you know what? Let's repeat, let's basically repeat the whole session and talk about this live in front of everybody or interview so that everybody can hear what we were talking about, because we found it quite interesting. And I saw this trend with the information we were talking about in other people that went through this. So I was like, oh, this would be a great means of support for people, for folks out there. Before we get started, I just wanted to mention and tell everyone that I have launched this 12-week program, a 3-month program, all based on the different stages you might be at with narcissistic abuse. I have 3 initial stages for those of you that either I named them the Narcissist Poo, Now You're Ready for You. That's a group for people that are just totally dedicated to moving on with their life and exploring different avenues and different, exciting things that you're going to be ready to do. This is a group that you are not interested in talking about the narcissist, but this is the type of group where be ready to show like your before and after photos, because we're going to be dealing with body, mind, spirit, soul in this group. I have the second group, which is What in the Sam Hell Just Happened to Me group. And this group is for those of you that have gotten out of a relationship with a narcissist, and it doesn't matter how long you might have gotten out. It could be a long time. You could have just gotten out, but these are for people that are going through post-traumatic stress complex, PTSD, for people that are going through ruminating thoughts, bad dreams, overwhelming feelings. So this is a group to help you get to the next stage. And then there's the stage of people that are living with the narc and or surrounded by the sharks. So this is someone that might be currently living in hell with a narcissist, or narcissist plural, could potentially be somebody in the workplace, somebody at home, a family member, you name it. And besides these 3 stage groups that I'm going to launch, I'm also having these groups. So please, if you're interested in any of this, email me at tracefaceit@gmail.com so I can give you all the details. But the other groups I have launched are a men's support group for people that have specifically men of all ages coming together that have gotten trapped with a narcissistic partner. I have an extended prayer and fast group for people that have done my prayer and fast and want to continue on with scripture study and getting closer to God. I have a Parents with Narcissists for Children group. So parents that have narcissistic children who are going through this and need to get together and talk and get support. I have My family member is a narcissist group. I have a widows group. I have a Help, My Loved One is a Narcissist group. I have an I'm Addicted to Drug, Alcohol, Food, Prescription Drug group. I have a Narcissist for a Boss or Coworker group. And finally, I also have the NARC Meet Up via YouTube group. So these are people that are looking to learn, meet others that are on YouTube here with me, and would like to know that, put a face behind the name. And that's a very low fee that you can just drop in once a week and get to know one another and get to meet one another. So again, if you're interested in any of these groups, and I will obviously make sure that you get all the information. You can email me. Lisa, you did a group with me. Can you tell everybody your experience with that and maybe why people might want to think about doing it or not?
Yeah, no, I
Okay.
definitely, it was a prayer and fasting. Well, first of all, you're so easy to talk to, and you keep it real. You're so down to earth and I love that. You talk about your experiences too, because like we feel I've lost friends. I shouldn't say lost them, but they've turned away because they don't know how to help me anymore. When I would call crying like this happened today and I don't know what to do, but I go back to that person. And so like I feel like I have exhausted a few of my good friends, and they're like they throw their hands up in the air. Whereas that with you understand because you've gone through it. So I feel like one point I felt like I was so alone in this whole mess and chaos. And then to find you and your group. And then it was nice because we had like, I mean, some ladies did get on the Zoom, but some didn't, and that's okay. But it's nice to, like you said, put a face with a name, and then just it makes it more of a connection, like, oh my gosh, she's going through this too, or you know.
Right. Lisa brings up a good point, guys, that if you have any difficulty with like trying to keep your trying to preserve your privacy or your identity, you can always just do the call in to listen to others and share, but you don't have to show your face. So that's the other great part
Mhm.
of the way I've designed the groups. And the app that we use is free for you guys to use, and it's private. So that's another good point to make, that people can do as well. I know I said all those groups really fast. I'm going to be putting on my community tab all the details for these groups, as well as a video I'm going to put up for those of you that don't feel like reading and would just rather listen to all the details of the groups. I can send you I'm going to have a link to the private video on YouTube that you can watch, all about these new groups I've designed. I hope that you will be a part of it. So let's get started. For those of you that had to listen to all that, thank you. And I just know it's important because so many of you were looking forward to being a part of a group, and it was important for me to really put together this material. So last week, Lisa and I, we got on the subject of how we had these similar experiences, right, with narcissists in our life, and how we felt like the parent, to a child. And not only that, but we're going to talk tonight too about this overwhelming feeling we had of they were so like we were they had no backbone, and we were almost like our roles were reversed, especially for us as women. Our roles were totally reversed in these relationships, where we felt like the one that was forced to almost have this masculine energy, while a lot of these narcissistic men were the ones that were acting more feminine in the relationship, so to speak. Or should I just say, more or less, before we get into those roles of gender roles, more or less we were doing everything, and we were basically taking care of a toddler. Then I've got, guys, I work with a lot of men, so I've got men that felt the same way. They felt like the narcissistic female in their life was overbearing, was purposely overbearing, and they felt like they were forced into this almost, feminine role. So it's quite interesting. So Lisa, yeah, tell us more about that, and what you experienced. Now this is going how far back in the relationship, and when did you sort of feel like this was going on for you?
You're gonna laugh, but it was on my honeymoon.
Yeah,
I, I did.
that sounds about right.
Yeah, I seriously, we went away. I had been to the West Coast before, but not to this particular area. And so we got in the car, first day, going, sightseeing, whatever. And we pull up to a stop light or stop sign. And he was like, okay, where do I go? I'm like, I don't know. Like, this is the location. And this is before GPS. But anyway, he's like, okay. He's like, well, you need to tell me which way to go. I go, I don't know. So he's like, we'll see if there's a map. So I looked, there was a map, and I handed it to him because my dad always read the maps and stuff. But he's like, yeah, he handed it back to me. He's like, read it. He goes, you figure it out. I was like, oh, this is like my first time. I'm like, this is not going to work. I just had the most sinking feeling, sadly, but that's when I first realized that this is not what I expected. Um, I ended up realizing that I had become the man of the family. So like fast forward with the kids, and I was like the ringleader. I'm like, okay. And I would tell him, sit down, like, or do this. It, it was like another child. I had 3 kids. And then what he would do is reverse and then get mad at me, because he's like, well, you're, like, you wear the pants in the family. I'm like, I do, because nobody's stepping up. I was everything, the disciplinarian. Aside from him bringing home a check, which I was always grateful for. But then I got ridiculed about that too. He's like, I'm just good at, all I'm good for is a check. I've never once said that or had that feeling in my heart, but there was nothing I could do that was right, no matter what. You
Yeah.
know, make the decisions that are necessary for the kids. And I think you and I talked a little bit about that too. But the thing is like no ownership.
Yeah.
There was no ownership. You're part of this family, but not really. And then like if the kids were going to go somewhere for the first time, or I think I mentioned the paintballing episode, but he's like, okay, what, you know, he wouldn't come in to join with me to make a decision because these were new kids and, you know, new location, what have you. So he's like, he washed his hands and he's like, what if whatever happens, it's on you. Like if something happens to the kids, it's your, because it was your decision, but he'd never parent with me. So it was tremendous stress.
Yeah.
Tremendous. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we were talking about this last week. It's like, you know, that example you have of the map is just like it's a forewarning of just of, you know, what's to come. And for some
Mhm.
people that doesn't seem like anything much, like what's the you know, what's the big deal of you having to read the map? But it's so symbolic of just like they don't know how to be partners, right?
Mhm. Right.
Partnership to them is a one-sided routine where you're supposed to do everything and they're supposed to reap the benefits of that. And I
Mhm.
see it time and time again, guys. You know, over 800 people I've worked with, I see a trend here. And that's why I decided that, you know, it's time to talk about this and do a video. Uh, it is overwhelming. It's stressful. When you realize like these people don't want to take accountability for anything, for anyone, just like he
Mhm.
said, you know, whatever happens on these kids with the kids is on you. I mean,
Mhm.
who even thinks that way? Like, oh, are you a part of this equation at all? Are you even the father of the children? Do you
Mhm.
know, do you, no, they don't want to have to be an example to kids, let alone to themselves. They don't want, they're not an example. They're not leaders in any way, shape. See, because to be a father of a unit, of a family, it means you have to be a leader. And these
Mhm.
people don't exhibit any type of leadership skills or qualities whatsoever. So you're basically changing diapers for three people. You're doing everything and they force you into these roles and then
Mhm.
turn around and pick on you for it. It's
Mhm.
incredible. It's incredible
Yeah.
how they do this to people. They
Yeah.
put you in a role you didn't ask for. You know, I don't know who the heck said this to me. I got out of this relationship recently. Um, and somebody said to me, you know, I don't even know if you could be in a relationship with a man that actually acts like a man because you've been so used
Mhm.
to acting like that. And I said, you know what? Um, um, I never asked to be in that role. It would have been nice to have somebody meet me halfway and
Mhm.
actually, you know, had that masculinity thing going for them. There's nothing more attractive than a man that acts masculine. Am I right, Lisa?
Yes,
More attractive.
absolutely.
And it's not to say we want the controlling, you know, the controlling type of narcissist that's all about making decisions and wearing the pants. It's called an equal exchange. And we
Mhm.
didn't ask to be in that role of, you know, doing everything for them and the kids and everyone, making all
Mhm.
the major decisions, worrying about the bills, doing the stuff in the house. And you had to
Yeah.
do all this, didn't you?
Completely, 100%. And you know, and I understood that, you know, he worked, he had shift work when he came home, you know, he was just so removed. But yeah, it was from everything to um, you know, like when we'd go out, he would, so say it was a holiday and there was food that I prepared, gifts, you know, the kids had to get their coats on, things like that. He would literally sit in the car and watch me make 15 trips. I mean, and not get up to help me. So I would, you know, bring the food in the back, run back in, grab the gifts, run back in, grab each kid, get them in their cars, you know. I mean, that goes way back, but yeah, you're right. We didn't ask for that. And then, you know, I don't know, it's frustrating. And then to then be ridiculed for doing those things when, like, how do you even process that, you know?
Yeah.
that was just like my whole life. Even when it came to like protecting me, like you were mentioning a situation that you had, my family member was angry and came at me in front of my girls, and he stood there, didn't protect me, didn't step in. So I had to be like a man, and like you said, it's not like we're, looking for like this super macho whatever, but like somebody who's got your back.
Yes.
Yeah, and that was never a feeling I had.
No. What these narcissistic men fail to realize is it's so unattractive, number one. It's
Hmm.
so unbelievably unattractive. Females, we want to feel safe with our partner.
Yes.
Exactly what you said. We want to know that this person has our back. And it's
Hmm.
it's not even about size or muscle or any of that stuff, okay?
Hmm.
It certainly does help, but
Hmm.
obviously if we're much bigger than you, that's not gonna that's not gonna, that's gonna feel good. But you know what I'm saying? Like it's attitude, it's spirit. It's that
Yes.
kind of a thing that really truly matters, guys. And like we were saying, we didn't ask to be. There's nothing worse than feeling unsafe with the person you're with. Like
Hmm.
knowing that you're unsafe, like they don't have your back, they're not going to come to bat for you. They are cowards at heart. And the minute push would come to shove, they wouldn't be the ones jumping on you if there is a fire. They'd be throwing you in the fire and running and running for cover.
Hmm.
Like that is the worst feeling ever.
Hmm.
I will share everyone. I was sorry you have to hear the story again, Lisa, but it's probably a good
No.
story to share with everybody about my dealings with how that felt. I'll try to tell it in as brief of details as I can. But the ex narc there, I will never forget. He always had a problem with anything positive that I would be doing. So, obviously, I was working at this time. I was doing this fundraiser to raise money for animal shelters, for no kill animal shelters, and my friends and I. It was comprised of a person that was really involved in the music scene, that had his own social that he was running for musicians at the time. Um, had this group going. I had another person that was editor of a major magazine in town that was part of this. I had a club owner that was part of this, and me. And so the four of us were really doing our hard work to getting this fundraiser together to raise money for no kill animal shelters. And it was a lot of work. I never
Mhm.
realized how much work this was going to go into for this like entire weekend event that we put together. We raised, I think it was like if somewhere between $15,000 and $18,000 for this shelter. This was the first time we did it. And anyway, the narc was very, very jealous because these other people that were involved with me happened to all be males. Well, why do we think the narc was jealous? Because the narc was out cheating, as we know. Of course, I didn't realize it or know the details. So they have to transfer that onto you and make it seem like you're doing the same thing. Now, every time we'd have a meeting, I used to ask the narc. I used to say, come, so you know what we're doing. Help me out. Help us out. Be a part of this. No, no, it was much easier to just be mad and say things like, "Oh, I know that so and so has a thing for you," and that kind of crap. Well, I'll never forget. I was um I was sitting there that night. We were all going through all the details at this bar that would happen to be open early. So we went there because we all had things to do that night. So we went there almost like a happy hour type of thing to go over everything we were doing. And I invited the narc to come. I said, "Why don't you come? So that there's nothing to be intimidated by." And there was this crazy person sitting at the bar watching me with the people I was working with. And the narc ended up coming, and there was only one of them left at this meeting. And when the narc came, and this crazy person, okay, in front of what was my friend at the time and the narc, Okay, so these are two men I'm sitting next to. And this crazy, random crazy guy at the bar that had tattoos all over his face, his neck, everything else, started looking at me. Now, he had been talking to us while we were there, asking us about it and just being nice or whatever, but he was obviously on something and he was not all there. And he looked at me with this really angry, like demon eyes, and he goes, I know why people like you dye your hair blonde. And I said, excuse me? He's like, yeah. And then he made some derogatory comment about women that dye their hair specific colors and what we're looking for. And without hesitation, I got up and I got right in his face and I defended myself. Like, who in the heck are you to be judging my hair color when you're sitting there with tattoos all over your face and your neck? And by the time I was done with this guy, he apologized to me. He was just like, I'm so sorry. I don't know what got over me. I mean, the guy was clearly unstable. The narc ex-husband took me outside and got angry at me. He literally pushed me up against the wall and goes, what are you thinking? Messing with a guy like that who's clearly insane? You don't realize what you could have done to yourself or to me. All he cared about was the fact that, and here we are, this person, okay, that I was with for how long, spent all his time in the gym pumping iron. Well, you pump an iron, pump, and you got an opportunity to defend your wife, and you're pushing her up against a wall, yelling at me because we know why, Lisa. We know why, because that was an opportunity. It was an opportunity to be a man and not be a coward and stick up for your wife, or my friend to stick up for me. And neither one of them did. Neither one of them came to bat for that. That was a clear-cut opportunity to be like, hey, man, I'm not even asking for you to get in a fist fight. I'm just literally saying, stick up for people. And unbelievable. Yelling at me outside and pushing me up against the wall. Why? Because he was a coward and he knew it. I came to bat for myself. Didn't need him. Defended myself clearly. What is the point of having you for a husband? You're not a husband. Okay. So that was a clear-cut moment. And I can remember, like years later, they have these moments and they come clear with things. And I can remember him saying, the things that really bother me and sit with me the most. And he brought up that night. He goes, that was an opportune moment that I could have been there. I could have come to bat for you. Yeah. But you know what? Been there, done that. It's already passed. Like, what's the point of even bringing it up at that point? I wouldn't trust you now to ever, come to bat for me. So why do we tell these stories, guys? Because it's so part of all of this. Like, we're forced to be a mother to these people, cleaning up. How many times, Lisa, do they clean up their messes or do any things of that nature?
Zero. I mean, one time, and that back to your, well, I'll answer your question real quick. One time we were all at the dunes and all the kids left their flip-flops there, and he was sitting on the chair with all the flip-flops around. And we got back in the car, we're driving, we're going to go to a restaurant to eat. None of the kids had their shoes and we can't go to the restaurant without shoes. He did not even pick up like the 6 pairs of flip-flops that were right there. I'm like, are you kidding me? And, to go back an hour after everyone realized that no, he didn't pick up the shoes. I just thought that was kind of like a given. They were sitting right by him. But, if you weren't sitting there with your husband at the time and your friend, like if you were just by yourself, I'm sure a stranger, another guy would have been like, hey dude, like back off, but here you have somebody who is your closest, most intimate, person, and they just, and you know what, it changes your heart toward them. It makes you so like, you can't wrap your brain around it because you'd go to bat for him.
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
I did. I mean, people don't even know the stories I have with his ex-girlfriend and the situations he clearly put me in, knowing full well she was back crack crazy. And
Mhm.
man, and I mean, that's like, that's all going in my book because it's unbelievable what I was put through. And I've always been that way. I think you and I talked about this. I've always been the type that I will go to bat for my friends.
Mhm.
I've
Yeah.
always been that way. And I never expected that from anybody else. But when it's supposed to be your ride or die, your best friend,
Yeah.
or your husband, or that's, you want to feel like, that person is not going to leave you to
Mhm.
die, you
Mhm.
know?
Well, and you want to feel like you matter to him, and I think that that's, another, I guess, a realization. You realize after time, because it chips, away your idea of, oh, he married me. He must, you know, like maybe I'm wrong to think that, but I think all of us, I mean, we're like, oh, well, they married us. They must love us. And maybe they do somewhere in their heart, but we don't we're not as valued as we value them, or we had hoped we would be with them. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, this is one of the many ways we discover this, right? We really
Mm-hmm.
discover exactly that moment of time where we've all had it, guys, where we recognize how much we didn't mean, how much
Mm-hmm.
we are used, how little we and how insignificant we are to them.
Yeah.
How, yeah, it's one-sided, all of it.
Mm-hmm.
And we have
Mm-hmm.
these moments throughout the relationship where we truly recognize it.
Mm-hmm.
This last person I unfortunately dated really came through with just the lack of follow through and consistency on anything and everything he literally said to me. And once
Mm-hmm.
I figured it out, and it didn't take me long, thank God, I was like, you know what? Absolutely not. I will
Mm-hmm.
not go through another person like this. I will
Mm-hmm.
not be forced to be someone's mom. The minute I feel that way, like I'm checking in on, did you do what you said you're going to do? Oh, forget it. Get out of here. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, not
Yeah.
happen. Like, I did not sign up for that.
Nope. And through, if you don't mind me saying, through, your coaching and your understanding, because when we talked last time too, you threw out some things and I was like, oh, that's it, because you can't understand what you're going through. And being in your group and being with other women too and sharing stories, you need that. You do. I mean, like you just said now, how you saw those things right away. It didn't take you a year or two to, and you don't even go in your head, maybe not. Like, no, it's an immediate, you become more aware of it and you become stronger. And you're like, no, I'm not letting this happen again. You're not, there's no leeway here, so.
Yes. Oh, I forgot, guys. There was one more group I forgot to mention that I came up with because there's such a need for it too. And that's for people that are starting to date after narcissistic abuse. And that is the other thing this is why I came up with all these groups, guys. People are out there and they are struggling and they're not realizing, okay, I don't see this on a first, second, third, even maybe a month or 2 months into us dating. I don't talk about these things yet. And that's just something I've learned from experience, and I would like to share with all of you in this group as well. Um, Again, those of you that are interested in any of these groups, please email me because once I get enough interest, I'm planning on launching probably the most popular ones are going to be launched the beginning of April, and then I'm going to wait and see how many bites I got on all these groups because if we get as many bites as quickly as I'm going to put these groups together. And if you are interested, I will just keep, I will, in my videos, I'll make sure to say in the beginning of the video, I'm looking for people for this group, this group, this group, and perhaps in a particular time zone. Um, yeah, Lisa, I can't thank you enough for coming on the channel and just sharing this stuff with us. Is there anything else that's coming to mind that you really are like, okay, people need to hear this or know, or any last words of advice that you have for folks out there that are going through narcissistic abuse?
Yes, I do. And I want to thank you so much for all that you do. I think I'm going to sign up for everything you just mentioned. For real.
Oh, that's the
Um,
other thing, guys. If you're struggling with what group do I even do, once you get the details, again, I'm going to have them on my community tab. You can view that on the community tab. If you don't know where that is on YouTube, community tab, you just go to on your phone settings on the top. It will have a community tab. If you don't know what group you should be a part of, just we'll talk. Email me and we'll if I haven't already worked with you, we'll figure out what group you should sign up for. Okay, go ahead, Lisa. I've had a lot of
so
caffeine today. You can tell. Woo!
you're so cute. I just want to tell anybody who's really struggling, the one biggest thing that just hold on to the fact that you're not crazy, even though they want you to think you're crazy, and they want you to think you're worthless and you don't deserve anything, and you're just like this creature that shouldn't even be walking. But here's the reality, and I believe in God, believe in Jesus. So um I that's my personal, like, I know my identity comes from the Lord. It does not come from the person I was married to or my family members or anybody I date. It's who I am, who God says I am, and I am worth being treated with respect and kindness. So,
Yes, it's so important to know that, Lisa. You bring up such a great point that through all of this, people forget that. People forget that
mhm,
simple point that you are worth more. That Lisa's absolutely right that you guys can be sitting back and wondering, like, do I deserve this kind of treatment? Is this kind of treatment normal? And after a while, the lines get so blurred that you don't
yeah.
even know. And so you raise such a great point that you do deserve more. And that's why I believe with one-to-one coaching groups, a prayer and fast group, you're going to learn these things. You're going to relearn what you're all about and what you're not all about, and where you stand with that, with your own
Mhm.
self-esteem and self-worth, because it does get crushed throughout narcissistic abuse. Absolutely, for certain.
And like you said, Trace, you don't even know it. You don't even know this is happening. And it takes time. It takes a lot of time. So hang in there and, stay with other people who like Tracy, and just people who understand.
Yes. Thank you so much, Lisa. We'll
Thank you
probably have
too.
you on again. I always want to have people on again because your information is just so valuable to others. And you know what? We should have you on again to talk about stalking.
Oh, yes, I can talk to you about that for sure.
We're laughing, but it's really not funny.
No, it's
That
not.
is that is clearly a subject that we could definitely address in greater detail of everything you've been through. You and I share similar stories with
Hmm.
this.
Yeah. And can I mention one thing real quick? Is that okay?
Yeah, of course.
It's not just the spouse that I had. It's not the next person I dated, and it's a pattern. I have a pattern. I don't know if that's the right way to put it, but I had to step back and say, like, what is going on? And I think I told you, I heard this one sermon and they mentioned say different, same devil, different level. And that's what it kind of resonated with me. It increased in different ways, but the stalking is, you're right, it's no laughing matter. It's scary.
Yeah,
But yeah, I feel like I'm like, yeah, I feel like I've been through the ringer, which I'm sure you do too. Like, I think we all can,
yeah,
write a list of our experiences. But yeah, it's a
yeah. I mean, you guys on the channel don't even know half of what I've been through in the last 3 years because I didn't want to give it legs.
mhm.
I didn't want to give it legs. But yes, Lisa, we'll have you do the majority of the talking with that because, you know, you have a lot of experience and we shared a lot of similar, and that's why all the information I had recently given you about it was
Mhm.
just from me knowing and understanding and really what to do and not to do with these crazy people. Because guys,
Yes.
the bottom line is there are levels to these narcissistic people, okay? You know, there are some that will go to these extremes over here, like sexually. They're like, you know, they're into the deviant sex life. And then there's the ones over here that are just obsessive by nature, and they're going to be obsessed with you because you don't want anything to do with them. So by
Mhm.
that alone, by that information alone, they're going to be 100% fixated on you. Then you got, you know, I always say if you're involved with a narcissist, they are, and mark my words, you might not think that, oh, I've never seen them get violent in all my years of, yes, they all have it in them. If they
Yeah.
are a narcissist and they especially have shown you malignant ways, they all
Mhm.
have the capabilities to becoming dangerous and violent and doing
Yes.
physical things to you that they have never showed you. You could have been with them for 40 something years and they never exhibited these behaviors. Well, the minute you're thinking of getting out, they're going to show you that.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
there are levels to this, guys. And I'm going to mention to you guys once again, I've talked about this before, but there are certain things I do not talk about on the channel because I don't want the narcissist to understand our plan of attack, and how we fight back and what we have to do, and because we don't want to give them this information. So it's very important that if you're going through any of the things we've talked about tonight, any or in any of my videos, that you contact me because there might be some things that you don't realize are going to help you tremendously that for otherwise you might not even know about if you didn't get your hands on this information. So I'll leave you guys with that. Again, Lisa, thank you so much. Yeah, definitely should have you uh,
Um,
come back on so we can talk more about stalking. And
yeah.
please, guys,
Thank you.
leave a comment for Lisa. Again, I will leave a comment that fast forwards to when we first start the video talking about this topic and not about the groups, but I'm also going to leave a link to a private video that you can view, all talking about the groups I have as well as the prices for those groups. So thanks again, Lisa. I
Thank you,
will,
Trace.
I will talk to you soon. Thanks for coming on,
Thank
and
you.
we love you, and we'll talk to you soon. I'm Trace
Love you
Faith.
too.
It's time we all face the truth together.